Hi, this is Kim, also known as Kittywan. In this set of videos, I'll guide you step by step through the creation of a simple memory match game built with Construct 2, the HTML5 game builder from Sira.com. Let's start with a preview of what it is we're going to build. It's a solitaire card game, and the object of the game is to find all of the matching pairs of cards in as few turns as possible. A turn occurs when you click on two cards to turn them face up. If they don't match, they're turned back over, and if they do match, then they're removed from play. You continue on in this way until you've found all the pairs, and then you get a hooray type message, and the game starts over. Now, I said this was a simple game, and it is to play. But in the course of creating this game, you'll be dealing with more advanced topics, including randomized arrays and the resizing and rearranging of objects on the fly, depending on the game window size. So obviously, this isn't a tutorial for total beginners at Construct 2. At a minimum, you should complete and hopefully understand the Ghost Shooter tutorial that's the focus of the Beginner's Guide to Construct 2. There's some things that you need to get started. You need Construct 2, of course. The free version is fine. You can download that from Sira.com. You need a free bundle asset, which is also available from Sira.com. That contains some music and sound effects that we'll be using in the course of building the game. And you need a bundle that I've put together that consists of the card graphics and a completed and commented version of the project. Now, I'll provide links to all of those things, including to the Ghost Shooter tutorial, on the page where this video is being hosted. If you've already downloaded and installed Construct, go ahead and click on it to launch it. Then create a new project, and we'll store it in a single file. Now, under the Properties panel, in Project Settings, change the name of the project to Memory Match, or whatever you want to call it. And it's a good idea to save it. And I'll save it as a single file, and I'll call it Memory Match. And as far as window size goes, for the purposes of this tutorial, we'll be working with 640 by 480. But one of the goals of the tutorial is to make it so that this game will resize to different window sizes depending on the platform where you want to run the game. For the browser, I'm going to use Chrome as my preview browser. You can choose which one you want. And that's all we need to do under the project settings. We need to make a small change to the layout itself, and that is under the Layers tab, change Layer 0, click on it so that you access the layer properties, and change its background color to something that's going to contrast with our cards, which are white. So I'm picking this green color. And we're ready to create our first object. So click in the layout and then right-click to insert a new object, and scroll down and find Sprite. Once you've gotten back to the layout, click again to open the animation editor and choose the second button on the top from the left, and to load an image from a disk, from a file rather. And navigate to where you've saved or unzipped the card graphics that I've provided for you, and choose the card back. Now, the default name for the default animation is default, but I'm going to go ahead and change it to card back. And I want to add another animation, so right-click in the animations window, add animation, and call this one card face. Now our card back animation only has one frame, so it's finished. But we need to click on the card face animation and then go down to the animation frames window and right click and choose import frames. We're going to import all of the card faces at one time. Click on the first card and then shift click on the last card and choose open. Now we have 13 frames, but the first frame is empty. So right click on that and choose delete to get rid of it. Now we have 12 frames. Now there's a lot of ways that you can introduce, this is a matching card game, so obviously we have to have pairs. And there's a lot of ways that you could do this, and I agonized about what the best way to do it would be for the purposes of this tutorial. And I finally decided that I was going to create the actual matching pairs in the animation itself. And the reason I decided to do that is that by doing so, you get a freebie game where the cards don't have to necessarily match exactly, but they can just be associated. So for example, let's say the first card has a caterpillar on it and the second card has a butterfly on it. Those two match. A kitten and a cat would match. So even though the faces aren't exactly the same, they're associated with each other. So to make duplicates of these face frames, right click on one and choose duplicate, and then go to the next different one, right click and choose duplicate, and continue on, right click and choose duplicate, right click, duplicate, and it's a little tedious, but it's a small price to pay for getting a freebie game out of it. Now, other than having to make duplicates of each of the cards, which you wouldn't do if you were doing an associative card, if you were doing an associate game, then this card would be one of the cards and this one would be its associate. It's very important that the matching cards are right next to each other, and that is the downside of this approach, because if they're not in order, it's not going to work. They must be 0 and 1 must match, 2 and 3 must match, 4 and 5 must match, and so on. Right, so we've got all of our frames. We've got 24 frames now. We've got a card back and a card face. There's one small change I want to make in order to make it easier to work with the cards when we resize and rearrange them. So click on the card back and then go to this middle button on the left, which is Set Origin and Image Points. When the window comes up, notice that there's an origin point, a red origin point set in the center of this card. When it comes up, right click on Origin and choose Quick Assign and change the location of that origin point to top left. Now you see how it's moved over to the top left. All right. Let's do the same thing on the card face. You see the origin point here in the center. Right click on Origin, Quick Assign, top left, and that changed the origin point for the first frame, but it's not going to have changed the origin point for all the other frames. So also right click again and choose Apply to Whole Animation, and that will move the origin point to the top left for all of the frames. Alright, we're done with the animation editor for now, so go ahead and close it. And owing to the beauty of Construct 2, you have a working game right now. You can go ahead and run it, so let's try it. Now, it ran, which is great, but of course, when we click on it, this card doesn't even do anything. So, in the next video, we're going to fix that.